think. So, to chat further about this topic, we're very pleased to welcome Joe DeFeo to our show. Good afternoon, Joe.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Dirk. How you guys doing?
Oh, pretty good.
We're doing good, Joe. Doing good, Joe. Thanks for joining us again, and thanks for giving us a good article to jump off on. So let's begin by asking you if you agree with what I just said. Do you think that, in fact, people struggle to connect better quality to better financial performance? And if they do, why? Why is that?
Well, I think, first of all, I do agree. And I agree because it's a true statement in many organizations, and no matter where you are, what industry. And it probably stems from the fact that business folks don't use the word quality the same way quality professionals do. So we tend to talk about things like performance and results. And performance and results equates to cost reduction or sales improvement. But what they don't realize, and people don't realize, that to enable yourself to get cost reduction or sales enhancement, you have to understand what the customer wants or doesn't want. So if the customer wants a feature that you don't provide, then naturally your organization has to design that feature in, and therefore meeting the requirement of quality, which then makes the product saleable. And on the other side of it, organizations can really reduce cost, but not necessarily reduce cost of poor quality. So reducing costs may remove features that customers want and upset them, and therefore reduce sales. So on the cost side, you want to go after those things that first impact the customer negatively, and when you eliminate them, they tend to reduce the total cost of your product. So what we like to think about is that organizations don't think about quality first, but they end up getting to it because that's what the ultimate cause of lower sales or poor performances financially, because you're not meeting requirements in one of those categories.
And get in a little bit further, Joe, because basically what you're saying here, as I understand it, is you're saying, quality can help you save money, or quality can help you make money, right? I mean, isn't that the heart of what we're saying here?
Yes. Early in my career, I had the opportunity to examine a project from McDonald's a number of years ago. And it's one of the best ways I can describe those two elements of quality, in the sense of one that drives cost and one that drives revenue. McDonald's was looking at a way to reduce cost, improve profitability, and someone had the great idea of reducing the number of sesames on a sesame seed bun. And you could imagine the amount of buns McDonald's has with Big Mac. So someone reduced the amount of buns and saved a lot of money, and they thought it was great. And they did this 3 times, but by the time the 3rd time came around, there weren't many seeds on the buns, and the customers started complaining that the buns were stale. Because naturally, if you had a stale bun and you had sesame seeds on it and there was nothing on it, it would be stale, so they returned them back. The scenario was they were reducing to their financial P&L costs, but they were removing the features that made the Big Mac a sesame seed bun. So in other words, they were reducing the amount of seeds, reducing the cost, but taking away the feature. In the end, they had to put those seeds back on and reduce the price in order to get people to be convinced that it's fresh. While they were doing that, they could have gone after stale buns. They could have gone after why customers weren't buying 2 instead of 1. So in other words, you can go after the cost with that and negatively impact customers. But if you go after the customer first, you will always reduce cost and even get an increase in sales. Because you can imagine if they figured out, how many leftover buns there were in every store at the end of the day that they scrapped, probably equaled more than the amount of sesame seeds on those buns. So when we think about an organization, you have to look at both sides of the equation. And whether it's a manufacturing company or a service, an example might be, while we're trying to reduce the amount of people in a call center to reduce costs, the customer in that insurance company might be looking more to talk to those people. So now you have less people there, and now they wait longer to get a call back, and they don't take as long on the call because those people are being pushed. So there's 2 sides of that coin, and when you get it at an executive level, they really understand it.
Hey, Joe, in your new book, Juran's Quality Essentials for Leaders, you explore many of these ideas. So how can one convince leaders that improved quality can lead to improved financial performance? We all know that quality is kind of the redheaded stepchild. So how do you make that case?
Well, we try to do it, and we're trying to help the internal advocate here think about it from the loss due to not meeting customer requirements or even business requirements. So calculation or estimating the cost of the loss or cost of poor quality or cost of poorly performing process. So If you have, 100 lost sales in the last year, and you could have won 50% of those, what was the value of that? If you had returns from customers, what's the value of that? And we'd like to get people to think of it the same way an executive does, quarter by quarter and an annual basis, and even turn that estimate of poor quality into a what would it equate to as a dividend if it were removed. And so anytime you speak the language of the executives, you're going to get them excited. And so we tend to have this language of things. We talk about the defect, we talk about customers being unhappy, but calculating the value of that is what gets executives excited. As a matter of fact, all organizations don't go into quality because they want to make quality better. They usually go into it because they have a problem. Either their customers have decreed they have a problem, like the recent General Motors issues, or their balance sheet is a problem and they want to start attacking it. And so, executives are looking at numbers all the time, and our job is to turn it into numbers. So the more you can estimate that cost of poor quality, the better off you are.
Joe, leaders love to talk about strategy, and they often consider quality to be maybe more tactical in nature. But in your opinion, is sustainable quality improvement possible without a broader culture-based perspective?
Well, it's not so much a culture-based perspective, but what got you the culture is important. So if you looked at the Baldrige winners as an example in the United States and any other Baldrige-like awards around the country, and you compared the winners to when they started 5 or 8 years prior to that, all the Baldrige winners talked about quality and customers as a strategic weapon, but in their early applications they did not. And so we see that organizations will begin to understand quality as a tactic until they reap the benefits and start seeing that impact on customers, sales, and financial benefit. And so they lead to then a strategy. No CEO ever woke up and said, I want to make the best product in the world and outperform all my competitors, unless they saw some other company do that and say, we can do that too. They typically start with, we've got a good product, we're out there, we're better than most people, but we've got some issues. And as they start understanding the methodology, they start moving from tactical to strategic. It's very hard to convince a multi-billion-dollar CEO that they should abandon the mission of the company they've had for 100 years and say, let's go focus on customers and quality in a different way. Instead, they have to learn that. So we always see it going from tactic to strategic. But when it does become strategic, it leads to sustainability, because the ultimate customer is the one who drives your financial business. So the more you can satisfy new requirements of new customers, old requirements and new requirements of old customers, it's always going to benefit you. Even in a downturn, you might lose business, but you survive.
Well, Joe, thanks. That's great stuff. I think it's a good one to leave it off on. We're running a little late, so I'm going to leave it off there. But thank you so much for joining us today, giving us your perspective on finance and quality. We'll definitely be talking to you again in the future, and we'll have you back on the show sometime soon.
I appreciate it. Juran Institute appreciates it, and Dirk and Mike, take care.
Hey,
and all you listeners too.
Thank you. All right, talk to you soon, Joe. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
All right, well, good one.